Here's a fact that should stop you cold. The majority of Americans could not cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. And that's not because they don't know they should have savings. They know. Almost everyone knows. They just cannot seem to make it happen. And the reason why has almost nothing to do with willpower, and everything to do with the way your brain was built. Think about the last time you told yourself you'd start saving next month, or after the holidays, or once you paid off that one thing. And then next month came, and you found something else to spend it on. A dinner out, a subscription you didn't cancel, an afternoon of shopping you can barely remember. That's not a character flaw. That's your brain working exactly as designed. The problem is, your brain was designed for a world that no longer exists. Welcome to Money, the channel where we dig into the real psychology, history, and hidden mechanics behind the financial decisions that shape your life. We don't just tell you to make a budget and call it a day. We want to actually understand why money is hard, so that you can outsmart the instincts that are quietly working against you. If that sounds like your kind of thing, hit subscribe and tap the bell. We put out new videos every week, and you genuinely don't want to miss them. Today we're going deep on something I think is one of the most misunderstood struggles in personal finance. Why saving feels so emotionally and psychologically difficult, even when you know intellectually that you should be doing it. We're going to look at the neuroscience of why your brain treats your future self like a stranger. We'll get into something called present bias, and why every dollar you try to save has to fight against millions of years of evolution. We'll talk about social comparison, and how it quietly inflates what you think you need. We'll look at how the entire modern consumer economy is specifically engineered to make saving harder. And we'll end with some genuinely useful ways to work with your brain instead of against it. This isn't about guilt. It's about understanding. Let's start with a thought experiment. Imagine I offered you a choice, $100 today or $110 next week. Most people take the 100 now, even though waiting 7 days for a 10% return is objectively a fantastic deal. Now imagine the same choice, but delayed, $100 in a year, or $110 in a year and a week. Suddenly, most people are happy to wait the extra week. Same math. Same 7-day gap. Completely different emotional response. Behavioral economists call this hyperbolic discounting, and it is one of the most robust findings in all of psychology. We don't value time equally. The gap between right now and 1 week from now feels enormous to our brains. The gap between 1 year from now and 1 year and a week from now feels like almost nothing. This is why saving for retirement feels so abstract and distant, while buying something today feels so vivid and real. The future is blurry. The present is loud. And this isn't a quirk of modern laziness. It goes all the way back to how human beings evolved. For the overwhelming majority of human history, hundreds of thousands of years, immediate resources were what kept you alive. If you found food, you ate it. If you didn't eat it, something else would. There was no savings account in the Paleolithic era. The people who survived long enough to become your ancestors were the ones who grabbed what they could when they could. Delayed gratification wasn't a virtue back then. It was a death sentence. So your brain, which is still largely running on that ancient operating system, treats immediate rewards as genuinely more valuable than future ones. When you feel that pull towards spending, that subtle, insistent voice that says you deserve this, or that you can start saving next month, that is not weakness. That is evolutionary inheritance. The trick is knowing that your environment has changed a lot faster than your biology has. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Research in neuroscience has found something remarkable about how we think about our future selves. When scientists scan people's brains while they think about themselves in the present, specific regions light up, areas associated with personal identity, with who you are. But when those same people think about themselves 10 or 20 years in the future, the brain activity looks much more like when they think about a stranger. Literally. The neural signature of future me is closer to some random person I don't know than it is to current me. This helps explain something that every financial advisor on earth has noticed. People make decisions for their future self that they would never make for present day themselves. You would never walk up to a stranger and hand them your debt to deal with. But somehow, borrowing money and making it a future you problem feels fine. You're not fully registering that you are the one who is going to have to live with it. Because to your brain, that future person is basically a stranger. This is why automating savings is so powerful, and I mean genuinely taking the decision out of your hands entirely. It's not about discipline. It's about removing the moment where present you has to make a sacrifice on behalf of future you, who your brain doesn't quite experience as you. When the money moves automatically, before you even see it, you never feel the loss in the same way. You adapt to the slightly smaller number in your checking account, and you move on. But let's go deeper, because there's another layer that almost nobody talks about: identity. When you picture a person who saves money diligently, who do you see? Be honest. For a lot of people, that image carries something uncomfortable: frugality, sacrifice, the person who says no to the trip, who nurses one drink all night, who does math at the dinner table before anyone can suggest splitting the check evenly. And nobody wants that to be their identity. Nobody wants to be defined by what they don't do. Personal finance culture has done real damage here. For decades, the message was essentially moralistic: spend less, save more, stop buying lattes. The implication was always that if you struggled, it was because you lacked character. And when saving money feels like an admission of failure rather than an act of power, your brain finds every creative reason to avoid it. The refrain that actually works is this: saving isn't deprivation. Saving is future spending. Every dollar you put away is a dollar you're allocating to a version of your life that hasn't happened yet. You're not choosing between spending and not spending. You're choosing when to spend, and on what. That is a fundamentally different emotional relationship with the act of saving. Now let's talk about something that makes all of this even harder: other people. Humans are deeply social creatures, and we have always benchmarked our status against the people around us. For most of human history, your comparison group was your village, maybe 100 or 200 people. You could have a realistic sense of where you stood. Now your comparison group is everyone you follow on social media, every show you watch, every neighborhood you drive through. You are constantly being exposed to curated highlight reels of consumption: the vacation, the renovation, the restaurant, the car, and your brain is quietly, automatically calibrating what counts as normal. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the most financially destructive forces most people never consciously identify. As your income grows, your sense of what is normal grows with it. The apartment that felt fine at 25 feels inadequate at 35, not because your actual needs changed, but because your reference points did. You're not keeping up with the Joneses anymore. You're keeping up with an algorithmically curated composite of everyone living their best life simultaneously. That is an unwinnable race. And every step you take to run it is a step away from building real financial security. Now here is the honest truth about the world outside your head: the game is rigged, and it's worth knowing that. The modern consumer economy is, in the most literal sense, an attention economy. Every marketing campaign, every app notification, every one-click checkout, every only 3 left in stock banner, these are the products of billions of dollars of research into human psychology. They are specifically designed to activate the same reward pathways your ancestors used to respond to food or danger. The companies selling you things have an enormous advantage. They know exactly when you are most emotionally vulnerable to a purchase. They know that buying something feels like taking action, and humans instinctively want to take action when they feel uncertain or stressed. And here's the thing about stress. It directly impairs the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for long-term planning and impulse control. When you're anxious or overwhelmed, you literally have less cognitive capacity for delayed gratification. This is why financial stress creates a feedback loop that is so hard to break. The stress of not having enough money makes it harder to make good decisions, which creates more financial problems, which creates more stress. Telling someone in that cycle to just spend less is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. So what actually helps? The most powerful interventions are structural, not motivational. Automation first. Set up a transfer to savings that happens the day your paycheck lands, before you can spend it. What you never see, you won't miss in the same way. Then consider reducing friction for saving and adding friction for spending. Open a savings account at a separate bank, one that takes 2 or 3 days to transfer money back to your checking account. That small, inconvenient delay is often enough to interrupt an impulse purchase. It gives your rational mind time to catch up with your emotional one. Name your savings accounts. This sounds almost too simple, but it works. An account called Italy 2028 or House Down Payment or 6 months of freedom performs measurably better than one called savings account. When you make the future concrete and specific, your brain starts treating future you as slightly more real, slightly less like a stranger. And use windfall rules. Decide right now, before the money arrives, that some fixed percentage of every bonus, every tax refund, every unexpected sum goes directly to savings. The money you never mentally counted as yours is far easier to save than money you've already begun to spend in your head. Finally, and I mean this sincerely, extend yourself some compassion about this. Not as an excuse for inaction, but as the foundation for change. Shame is one of the worst motivators for long-term behavior. People who feel ashamed of their finances tend to avoid looking at them, which makes things worse, which creates more shame. People who approach their finances with curiosity, who ask why did I spend that instead of what is wrong with me, consistently make more progress over time. You are navigating a genuinely difficult collision between ancient instincts, sophisticated marketing, and a financial system that was not designed with your long-term well-being as its primary goal. Understanding that is not an excuse. It is a map. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If saving money is fundamentally a psychological and behavioral challenge more than a mathematical one, what would change about how we teach personal finance? In schools, in families, in culture? Because right now, most of the advice assumes the hard part is knowing what to do. But knowing is easy. Doing is the hard part. And you cannot fix a behavioral problem with a spreadsheet. If this made you think differently about money, drop a comment below. I'd genuinely love to know what landed, or what you've tried that has actually worked for you. A like helps more people find the channel, and it means a lot. Next week we're going somewhere just as fascinating. You'll want to be here for it. Until then, take care of yourself. And maybe set up that automatic transfer.